Hello guys, and welcome to my first tutorial I'm gonna make. Um, I've been producing for quite a while now, like 5 years, and I thought maybe I should make some tutorials because like last month I have been quite demotivated to make music. I don't really have a lot of inspiration, so maybe this might be a way to kind of share some stuff with you guys, and maybe it's good for me to be talking about my music. Who knows? And I might get some ideas again. So we're gonna be talking about deep house, which I really like. It's really a genre that I really enjoy. You know, deep sounds, a lot of reverb, very wet sounds, and some cool drums. So let's have a listen to a piece of a track that I never finished, and then I will talk to you about this piece and explain you how I made certain things, and hopefully this will help you in your future productions. Sorry about that, doesn't really matter. So as you heard, I think the overall quality of the track is pretty good. I think all the sounds are coming out pretty well, and there's no cluttering, and everything has a lot of space, and yeah, I just like the overall feeling of the track. So I thought it was a good idea to take this track and talk about it. So let's start with the drums. So it's really basic, nothing really special, but what is really important is using the right samples, I guess. Taking the ones that really are good quality. I think maybe a lot of beginner producers don't really take it into account, but there is a lot of bad samples out there which kind of, they can really ruin your track. So this is a kick. It needs to be very subby and punchy and deep. You don't want to have much high end in it. So a kick like this, in my opinion, is perfect. I'll let you show where I found the kick. If I can find it, give me a second. Here it is. Some Pulso Deep Kicks. It's a package I found somewhere. So I think if you look for it in the internet, I'm sure you're gonna find it. And I would highly advise this pack, because there's a lot of good kicks in here. And I used this one. Pretty solid kick for deep house. Now I know a lot of people use Vengeance. I don't have anything against Vengeance, but you should be careful with a lot of these kicks, because a lot of them have many high end and don't really sound very tight and clean. Because if you would use a kick like this, well, obviously this is not good, but there are some kicks in here that you could use, a few of them, but not all. So what I'm trying to say is, you should spend some time in going on the internet, looking for good samples, and browsing through your samples, and looking for the perfect samples. Just don't, you shouldn't be just taking the first kick you hear and put it in, you know, spend some time. Maybe it's not very easy for a beginner to distinguish a good sample from a bad one, but I guess that, you know, over the years you'll get an ear for it, and you should also be listening a lot to music that you like or deep house tracks that you like, and listen to the sounds, you know. Try and go for sounds that sound familiar to good tracks that you like. So this is just a kick drum, obviously. So I make a 16 pattern loop, because you can add a little more variation in a 16 pattern loop. If you use an 8-bar loop, you can also do that, but you know, it's better to make a long one so you can make it more interesting. Okay, now we have a second kick, which I think is used quite a lot in deep house, and it goes unnoticed, I think, by a lot of beginner producers, but it's really interesting to use these to bring a little variance into your drum loop, make it more interesting. You know, give it a little more groove. And this kick shouldn't be too heavy. It shouldn't be as heavy as your main kick, because then it's gonna clutter and it's gonna ruin the mix, I guess. So this kick, which one you're gonna take, it isn't as important as your main kick. Just try some different soft kicks, and you're probably gonna find one that sounds pretty cool. Okay, so that's 2 kicks. Now we have the claps. So these are made out of 3 claps. First one, a really small, short sound. This is giving the most high end to it, like the high sounds, kind of giving it a snap. This one is I think more for filling up the clap. It has a lot of noise, kind of. It's very wide. It doesn't really have an attack, so this is to give the clap a little more excuse me, presence. I'm a little sick, so okay. The third clap is very deep, kind of a hard clap, you know. It's just the most powerful one of the 3. So this is yeah, giving the low ends more presence. So if you combine them, you get a pretty nice sounding clap, you know. So layering claps, definitely something you would want to try. You don't always have to do it. Sometimes you find a sample, a clap or a snare that sounds good on its own, so you can just leave it like that. But in this case, I thought, you know, layering up some claps would be cool. As you hear, if I take one away, it really drastically changes the sound. So all of these claps are pretty important. Then I also panned this clap to the left and this clap to the right. And this is important because you don't want all your sounds to be sitting in the middle. I think this is also something beginner producers don't do or forget about, is panning sounds to the left and to the right, so everything has more space and everything doesn't sound cluttered in the middle, because it's going to sound pretty dry and yeah, pretty packed together, you know. Your sounds need space, so that's why you need to pan them. And this is for claps and all kind of sounds, but not for your kicks and bass, because kicks and bass should be sitting in the middle. If you didn't knew that, well, now you know. So we got kicks, claps. Now we're gonna have a hi-hat. Nothing really special, just a normal hi-hat. Although I would advise you to use a hi-hat that kind of sounds real, like not a hi-hat that sounds too digitalized, you know, because for deep house I think you really want a natural feeling, human feeling, so that's why using a hi-hat that sounds real really helps to achieve that sound. Okay, so next we got three sounds which I like to call fill-in sounds. They occur not a lot throughout the loop, but they are very important to make it more interesting and make it more yeah, funky, you know, so it doesn't get too boring, your drum loop. You definitely need some of these sounds in your drum loop, so yeah, it sounds more, it doesn't get boring. So I just have like these hi-hats running, a small clap here, a snap, finger snap, and again those two sounds, and they really add something to the drum loop. So it's actually really basic, as you can see, nothing really special going on. It's just about getting the right samples that fit together and yeah, you know, arranging them. But I think the most important thing is the right samples, because the arrangement isn't really that hard to do. Okay, now I'm going to talk about processing. The kick has a little bit EQ boosts in the low frequencies, around 40-50, so that's where the sub is, and just a little boost. I think a lot of beginners go crazy with EQ. I've seen some tutorials on YouTube where people like really boost too high, and it might sound good, you know, at the moment, but as you're gonna be working on your track, it's gonna probably take too much space and it's gonna be too heavy and ruin your mix. So please be careful with EQing. It's no problem to EQ, but you should make slight adjustments and don't go crazy with them, because you know, you can definitely hear that, and actually you don't want people to hear that you've gone, yeah, that you've EQ'd like a crazy monkey or something, you know. So the second kick also small EQ, and all the other sounds have actually no processing on them, so no EQs or compressing, anything like that. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you pick your right samples, again, I'm telling you how important it is to choose your right samples, because if you do pick your right samples that fit together well, then you're not gonna have to be EQing all the time and compressing all the time, or I don't know what, you know, maximizing, stuff like that. Because if everything sounds right from the start, then why, you know, why should you change it? Because for me it sounds alright, so I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. So yeah, I guess that's the drums. Now we're gonna go to the sounds, synths. This is a synth from Harmless, I guess is the name of this synth. It's a Fruity plugin. I thought this was a pretty cool sound, really kind of deep house organ sound, you know. It's really cool to make chords with them, and it really has a lot of movement in it, you know. It doesn't really sound like straight, kind of like a wobbling sound, and that's why I really like those kind of sounds. So I arranged it like this. So 3-note chords, sometimes a small note to indicate that I'm gonna, I don't know, it just kind of makes it more interesting. So if you don't have any knowledge about chords or melodies, or you don't know how to play piano or anything like that, you know, you should try and learn it, or at least the very basics, because you know, if you don't know how to play an instrument or anything like that, or you don't understand how melodies work and chords, then it's going to be very hard to make a track, unless you're going to use samples. But that's a whole different story. You know, in this case we're using synths and, you know, playing chords and stuff like that. So I would highly advise, if you don't have any idea how it works, look for some tutorials on basic chords, because you know, 3-note chords aren't really that hard, and if you know a few of them, like if you know 4 chords, you can already do pretty much with that. So you should definitely try and learn something about that. Then I have this sound which kind of sits in the background. You almost don't notice it, but it's also there, again, to add presence, make it more interesting. It's really almost unnoticeable, but it is really important. So I just played this in with my MIDI keyboard. I just recorded it, and I just left it the way it is. Didn't quantize it, because you know, it's in the background, so you don't really, you're not gonna notice that it's offbeat, and it also makes it more human, I guess, to not quantize it and put everything rigidly on the grids. Next we have a synth, which is a very important part of the track. Kind of has like a trumpet sound to it. I really like this sound, and it really fits together well with all the other sounds. So again, I just played this in my MIDI keyboard. So you know, if I have something like this running, and then I suddenly have this sound, so then I'll start just looping, you know, the synths, and then I'm gonna start playing on my keyboard, looking for the right notes. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. So yeah, that's how I, you know, come up with melodies. I just play around until I hear something that sounds kind of catchy, and then I just record it and then leave it that way as I recorded it. So again, as with the drums, your synths, they should be fitting together, like they should be like sounding glued together, like they belong to each other. Because I think a lot of problems with producing with a lot of beginners is that they pick sounds that don't really fit well together, and you can definitely hear that. You know, it has to have a feeling. Like, let's say, just to give you an example, I would use this sound, and I with like so obviously that doesn't fit together, you know. This might sound stupid and you might notice, but you know, there's just so many things involved in getting sounds that really match together. So I spend a lot of time experimenting and going through presets, trying different VSTs. I actually spend very much time on just searching for things rather than really making or producing music, because of course, you know, you should know that it's really important what sounds you're going to use, because they're going to be your track. You know, sometimes I'm going to have a melody in my head, like, but then I'm going to have to need the right synth, and you know, it takes me quite a while to find the right synth before I'm really happy with it. So I think, you know, definitely is a good advice to spend time on finding the good sounds as well for drums and also for synths. Okay, I'm gonna show you some effects I have on these synths, which you can't hear now, but I'm just gonna let you hear them because I was planning to use them throughout the song. So on my synths I do put a lot of effects. I really like to go crazy on them compared to my drums. You know, there's no effects here, but on my synths I really like to experiment a lot. So you can hear that opening up. I really like the sound of that. And here is another one. These kind of things are really cool for if you're working on your breakdown, on your drop, your outros or intros. It's really cool to be changing the sounds of the synths. I always use these kind of tricks to make my song more interesting. So this is a plugin called Valhalla Shimmer, kind of like a reverb plugin. You should definitely look for it because it's an interesting plugin. Valhalla, if you look for them, they have like a few plugins and they're really nice plugins for delays and reverb. Then we have Guitar Rig. I think some of you might know this plugin. I think it's actually made for guitars to give effects to guitars, but you can definitely use it on synths or other things. So it's really cool. It has a lot of stuff on it. Really cool to be experimenting with some really cool sounds, you know. So yeah, I could talk, I could tell you more about it, and I'd talk for hours about different kinds of stuff, but you know, then this tutorial would take too long, and I guess it would get quite boring. So yeah, I think, I hope you might have learned something from what I've shown you here. Maybe it's not a lot. I just, yeah, kind of like dissected this small part and showed you what I actually did. Maybe it's not really a lot of information, but you know, if some of you people like it, then you should let me know it in the comments. And you know, you can, I can make more tutorials, maybe talk about other tracks, or if you have some requests, I am happily to be making videos to try and teach you guys something, so you can also, you know, continue on working on your tracks. So yeah, thanks for watching to my tutorial, and hopefully I'll see you another time. Goodbye.